So the theme over the last few weeks has been the stage or the phase of entering into great compassion. So I'm going to just start to approach it in a particular way and enter into it, and we'll just see what happens. So in a way, I'm going to start with a biographical approach. So when I was 19, I left home and went traveling in the East and found myself quite a bit in Buddhist countries and Theravadan countries, first of all. And then later on, I went to Southeast Asia, Japan, Taiwan, and so on. And I think it was then that I really started to see a lot of these figures of Kuan Yin. And they can be huge, in China, Taiwan, and Japan. This is, obviously a small one and very beautiful, I think. But Kuan Yin is an archetypal symbol of cosmic compassion. It's not a historical figure. It's a sort of metamorphosis, you could say, of the Buddhist Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, who represents compassion. So, but when China and Japan started to really develop their Buddhism, they went more to this figure as an expression of compassion, overall cosmic, almost existential compassion running through the universe. And those countries, they were part of a development of Buddhism called the Mahayana, which includes something called the Bodhisattva ideal. It sounds like I'm going to get technical, but I'm not, I promise. The Bodhisattva ideal actually is seen as starting right here with how you are now, with your attitude towards your meditation and your personal development. And the attitude is, I'm doing this for the sake of everybody, not just myself. It's not just personal development, but the fruits and the benefits of practicing in a way I dedicate to all beings, that it might help all beings or benefit all beings. So straight away, the attitude takes out the this is for me kind of more selfish approach to growth and development and makes it much more universal. And I have to say I was very attracted to that as an attitude when I was young, and still am. I felt it was just, I really liked it. I really thought it was great. And especially in the Southeast Asian countries that are Mahayana, I felt that spirit very much there. So like say, for just a very simple example, I quite early on, by the time I was just 20, I think, I ended up in a Zen complex. I had a little apartment in the complex and we were sitting a lot. And even though the Zen master, who was quite famous, Uchiyama Sensei, and the monks didn't teach much, the attitude was Mahayana, that they were there to help all beings. And the way they did that was that they made their temple open to everyone in the neighborhood. So it was a bit like the center, actually. people would come in the morning, do a double sit before going to work. And then at weekends, retreats in the temple, and everyone from the whole locality, all ages, all genders would come. And that was the way that they were sharing Buddhism in a way, just by creating a context where people could practice. They didn't give much direction. I don't think I was there nearly a year, and I don't think I got anything more than I'll just focus on the breath or focus on emptiness. From a certain point of view, from my point of view, I could have done with a lot more. But they definitely had the attitude of creating an environment where people could go deeper than just everyday survival in the world. And I was very taken with that, and I thought it was very important. When I came back to London and I met the Triratna Buddhist order, which runs this centre, the whole context of practicing with the aim of you practice for all beings was much more overt and clear. So the man who started Triratna was very clear that this was primarily a Mahayana movement, and that was a very positive attitude to have. So there is, in a way, of an ordinary, relative, everyday aspect to compassion. You're kind to people. You help them if they're obviously in trouble. You know, help them across the road, or it could be quite down to earth, and you're aware of people's needs and frailties, their suffering and their pain, and you do what you can in a considerate and kind way. And that is an art, actually, to help and care for and be compassionate for people. And it's very much a part of growth and development. So it's not just about oneself. Yet, at the same time, we go on retreat. We become self-contained. We become quiet and focused, and we're not so concerned with things outside of ourselves and other people. So there's this sort of relationship between, in a way, a serious intent to pay attention to your working grounds, what you need to work with, and at the same time, the kindness and the care and the patience spreading to others. Now, actually, that needn't be all that overt. You could just be talking about what you do, that you meditate or that you're mindful with someone, and you just don't know what kind of effect it will have, actually. Over my life, I've discovered that just random conversations with people on buses and trains had a big impact. But, at the time, I wouldn't have known that. And it wasn't even an intention. And I hear this also. So like I was mentioning to a few people earlier that I went to a launch of a preview of an art show on Thursday, and I was talking with 3 people, and they had all come to this centre at some point. The last time one of them had come was 15 years ago, but she still meditated. It's just that she'd been busy bringing up her daughter, and now, she was perhaps more ready to start to engage in the centre again. So there are so many ways of what we provide here in the centre as being, in a way, bodhisattva activity. We're here so that people can engage with practice and get the benefits of practice, and people can be participating in that process by helping in the center, for example. So there's a way in which one can get the sense of, well, that's in a way quite ordinary, in the world. But then there's a way in which the symbolism and archetypes of the Bodhisattva can also be important. So within the movement, we have something called puja, which is verses which in a way elicit the Bodhisattva spirit of growing and developing for the sake of all beings. The threefold, especially the sevenfold puja, which we do sometimes at this center, they're evoking that cosmic view that everyone has the potential to grow and to develop. And that one recognizes that. And the archetypal forms which develop in Buddhism express that tendency to be aware that all beings have the seeds of growth and development. So, for example, this figure, which is, I'm guessing is more from the Chinese tradition. I don't actually 100% know that, but I'm guessing it's more from the Chinese tradition. Kuan Yin as an archetype goes into all the realms of all beings to help them grow and to develop, whether someone is suffering or whether they're happy, whether things are going well. The archetype of Kuan Yin is supportive of their growth and development, however they are, and whatever kind of mindset they're in. So it's she. Well, actually, she's somewhat a he, she. I'm not going to say any more about that. I didn't use any other words, but it's, yes, she's mostly called a she, but is a combination of wisdom and compassion, spreading throughout the universe. So it's pointing to a state of being which one can experience in meditation, which is very profound, very deep, and full of compassion for all beings. So in Buddhism, you get this sort of range. You have your workaday working grounds, what you need to work on, staying awake, coming back when your mind wanders. It's, it's quite practical. It's very practical, and it's sometimes hard work, but it's intentional. You learn these skills of how to stay awake or how to bring your mind back, even though it might be difficult. You learn how to do it and you become proficient in those skills. So then your mind can go deeper. And then it sort of, in a way, through the meditation, you start, because you've learnt the skills and the attitudes of paying attention and staying with what's happening, your mind becomes more sensitive to deeper, more underlying qualities of mind, not in the thinking sense, but a much more richer sense of mind that isn't so concerned with how you do things and how you relate in the world. And by entering in to those types of meditation, you'd start to get a bigger range of context, that it's not just about being able to stay equanimous in the face of road rage or, something like that, which is an important practice in London, I think. Especially if you're a cyclist, right? So this range is important, and the practical is important. Being able to know how to work with your mind is important, but it's also really important to be able to go deeper and to enter into layers of mind which, as it were, in a manner of speaking, tune into primordial compassion, of which Kuan Yin represents. So, just to finish, when I was guiding you into the sits before the tea break, I was introducing metaphor as a way of coming into the imaginal faculty. If I'm landscape, what kind of landscape am I like? And you start, your imaginal faculty wakes up actually with the metaphorical question. I mean, I don't want to assume anything, but a lot of people are very in their thinking minds. So to have a meditation situation where you ask a metaphorical question opens up a whole different language of being and relating to yourself, which actually can feel and be very real, in the notes which I put on Facebook, I was talking about a friend of mine. I guided her in a class into, if I'm landscape, what kind of landscape am I like? And at the end I asked her, and she said, I wasn't happy. I had a volcano. And I said, well, don't judge it badly. It might be your inspiration ready to burst out in your creativity. It's not necessarily anger, And she was like, oh, right, all right, yeah, that's right. So you get what the image does is that it puts you in touch with something, and then you can kind of include it in your awareness, and then you have a more direct experience of it. And in fact, for her, it was a very creative impulse. It wasn't that she was angry. With other people, it might be, but not her at that time. And so, but my point is that we have to find ways of waking up our imaginal faculty. And the metaphoric question is a way of doing it. It's not the only way, but, the arts, culture, literature, mythology, and so on are also ways of stimulating our imaginal faculty. But the metaphoric question just opens a door, really, internally. And you get used to it. It's very good. I suppose I'm encouraging you to use it in your meditations at the beginning and end. And the little one trick here is to be aware of your body. So I'm almost back at the beginning again. So you're aware of your body and you ask for the metaphorical question. If I'm a landscape, what kind of landscape am I? Or if I'm water, what kind of water am I like now? Well, huge range there. And you start to just get used to asking the question and an image telling you, and asking yourself, does it fit? So in that way, then you've got awareness of the body, you've got the imaginal faculty, which engages you with deeper, more underlying qualities of the mind. And then I introduced this idea of asking for a descriptive word. And it could be calm or turmoil or, frazzled, whatever it is, or steady. And that is more introducing then the whole trio: body, imaginal, and thinking. Now, I did say earlier that the the emotions are not left out here. But as you start to become aware of yourself in these three areas, your emotional life actually becomes more conscious. But they give you access to your emotional life. So, being aware through metaphorical questions is a beginning. And then just sort of taking in an image, like Kuan Yin, for example, maybe doing a little bit of looking it up on Google, can actually be very helpful. And you start to, it opens up a deeper level of mind, which is really in a way what the image does.